if you go to mappaint.com/academy/challenges, then we'll be looking through the submissions, the current submissions to the Cyberpunk competition, and just picking random ones, picking anything that looks interesting, and just giving feedback on where the entries are at the moment. If you want to start up Photoshop and mark things up, you can share your screen. Um, I first actually want to start with a bit of an intro of who you guys are and the current submission, where you started. So let's just making sure. Can you guys just say a couple of things to make sure that it's
Hello, hello.
all working?
Hello.
Yep. All right. I think that's working.
So what was it like? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
You talk.
All right. So, hey, everyone, if there's any audio issues or you can't hear somebody or something's not working, please just let us know in the chat. I am Conrad. I'm the founder of MapPaint, and I'm joined by Sep, who's in the bottom of the screen. He's environment supervisor at Image Engine, and Alexei Golovchenko. He is he's over at, where are you at? Pixamondo.
Pixamondo.
Yeah. So, Sep, can you just introduce yourself? Just say, where you've come from and who you are, what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, originally, I'm from Munich in Germany. Started there at Scanline after I did a master in arts. Spent 3 years at Scanline. Went over to MPC London. I was there for 3 years as well. I was hired as a mid-level matte painter and made my way up to a lead matte painter. And over recommendation from some of the supervisors there, I was sent to Vancouver, where they just recently opened their new office, and started there with Man of Steel and stayed with them until 2018, so quite a while. I went through a couple of positions, matte painting lead, environment supervisor, on-set photographer, on-set VFX supervisor, made it up to CG supervisor. That was my last role there. Then switched over to Image Engine as an environment supervisor and took over the department as a head of department. And just recently, 2 months ago, I switched to a generalist supervisor role, primarily focused on Unreal Engine.
So can I just ask on that last note? So you've switched to being a
Yeah.
generalist supervisor. So is there somebody else who stepped in as the map painting supervisor?
Yeah, they're trying to figure that out right now. But yeah, I
Right.
stepped out of map painting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be more and more so that the departments are joining, or rather, you either go with like an environment generating an ENV gen team that does everything from foreground to background, and it's a mix of 3D guys and DMP guys, or you have your 3D assets team and a DMP team. So I was
Yeah.
interested to know.
For us, the generalist soup role that I have right now is not focused on environments. It is focused on pretty much anything. I've done already in my new role character look dev and development, animation, previs, post-vis. So it's not primarily focused on only environments. So that's why I've been taken out of the traditional environment matte
Mm-hmm.
painting uh, line and created a new role for that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, and Alex, can you give a bit of a background of your career?
Yeah, so I started uh back in Ukraine. I started actually like my very first job was a web designer. So I spent like a 4 years doing web designs, never liked it. Was more caring about like doing collages with some like environment, like landscapes, I would say. So my kind of like the best thing I've done was like the promotional like websites for like tourism and all that kind of stuff. And one of the um, art directors from at that point, like I think was the biggest TV channel in Ukraine. They were starting their new art department. So he basically saw my work and he invited me to join the team as a motion graphic designer. So I did a little bit of a motion graphic, but my major like speciality there was sort of a graphic design and matte painting for like a pack shots or like some promotional stuff, that kind of thing. So I spent like 3 years, I think, over there, and then the team changed, and like my boss basically went and started working for the film company, and they established like small boutique studio there doing like a sort of a mockumentary like films about like famous people. They started with a scientist, like they did something on Tesla, they did something like on other things. And so I joined also, but like this time as sort of like matte painter slash compositor. And I spent, I think, a year. Then I joined for 3 months Worldwide Effects and did Expendables 2. It was my first big international feature. And after that, Alex Janian from MPC Vancouver
Mm.
approached me on LinkedIn and basically said, "Hey, dude, do you want to go to Vancouver?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. I mean, of course."
Yeah.
So I went, and in 2012, with all my basically like 2 suitcases and a laptop and 3 months of contract, which is kind of a crazy if I think back. I would probably wouldn't like nowadays. There would be
Yeah.
no way. Be like 3 months,
3 months.
seriously, across the ocean? Nah, I'm not doing that. And that time I was like, I don't care. I just go. I really wanted to go and see how basically big studios are doing stuff and what's going on under the hood. So I was like, definitely, I'm coming. I mean, no worries. So just packed everything, sold everything I didn't need at that time, packed the stuff and went. And I stayed until 2013, I think. Then it was a briefly break, so I went to Toronto because before we worked with SEP on what couple of projects.
Yeah, you
I
were
I was
were
on
you on Lone?
Godzilla. I was
You were on
on
Godzilla, Batman, Superman.
Batman, Superman. Yes, I did some Seven Son other stuff, which was
You did not. Did you work on Lone Ranger?
no. I was on. I
Yeah.
think I was at that point on something else. I don't remember. I think it was 300 or something. Like it was some other stuff
Yeah,
going.
yeah. And then you
Yeah.
joined after 300. You joined me on Godzilla.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So with that, and after Godzilla, I went to Toronto for 10 months, and then to work on some TV stuff, and then I came back and again to MPC, and I spent I think half a year or something like this, and then I joined DNEG in 2015, and pretty much stayed there until this year March. And yeah, I joined basically I think joined DNEG as a matte painter, and I ended up being environment supervisor for TV division when they started the TV division. Because I was kind of like more interested in sort of like a smaller streaming projects, and it was more of a department supervisor, not a project supervisor. So there was a year and change of that, which is interesting experience. And yeah, now I joined couple of weeks ago. I moved to Toronto and I joined Xamondo Toronto as an environment supervisor as well.
Mm. It's funny sitting here uh, amongst you guys who are amongst the top of the industry in terms of longevity of being in the industry, and also like Sep, I remember about 5 years ago seeing some of your work and seeing like who you were, and I was like, maybe it wasn't 5 years ago, it might have only been 3 or 4, but it's this weird thing that the guys who, I mean, the people listening into this this live stream don't necessarily know how iconic your work is, and because usually what I've found is the guys who are the most talented and the highest up in the industry are too busy to be posting things on ArtStation or updating their IMDb profiles and sharing the latest work. Except for, there's a select few like Raphael Lacoste, he's both socially active and doing amazing work. But for a lot of people out there, they'll see me as somebody to look up to, but I see you guys as the guys to look up to, because once you know who who they are, and the people that are just doing the work and they're just too busy to actually get out there and share what they're doing, yeah, you really get an appreciation. So I
Thank you
will.
so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I
It's kind
really
of
appreciate it.
it's really good to connect with you guys. So just for everyone listening and watching the stream, the frames are it's a bit choppy. I'm pretty sure I know the reason for that. I will have to stop the stream and then recreate it, which will, I think, change the link. So we'll try that in a minute. But first, I'll probably just quickly go into my background and how I sort of got from before getting into the industry to where I am now. So I was studying a games degree in 2010, and then I discovered environments and was like loving environments. And then I knew I wanted to get into the film industry, but it took me a good 4 or 5 years to actually make that break. And that's when I went down to Rising Sun in Australia. But it was, I mean, the whole industry is really transient. So you're constantly moving from studio to studio, country to country. You've got like Alex, you were saying, a 3-month contract, especially as a junior, that would be pretty typical, and you've just got to take it. I grabbed 7 weeks at NPC in Vancouver when I had first started, and that was through Alex Genion as well. And then from there, that's when I ended up where Sep is currently at Image Engine, and stayed there for almost 2 years. And it's one of those things that you struggle to get into the industry, and then once you've got that first job, you generally find, like, you can find the next one and the next one. Sometimes it comes down to location, because if you live in South America or parts of even Australia, it can be difficult for a company to get your work visa. But generally speaking, once you've got that first job under your belt, then it means that when you go to new studios, they know certain things about you. They know that you know the general layout of what a day looks like as a matte painter. They know that you know what shotgun is and how to use it, how to give send notes and receive notes and get feedback and iterate on your work. And those sorts of things take they take a toll on the onboarding process of a new artist. So I guess because that's the thing, right? The people who are watching us right now and who will watch this video in the coming weeks, most of them at least, are going to want to get into the visual effects industry. So that's where I kind of come from, is how do you break through that first hurdle? Now, that said, with a competition like Cyberpunk, we're not exactly trying to train those skills that you might need as a junior matte painter, but generally speaking, there are certain things that you can do. So, all right, I'm gonna have a look and see if we can restart this stream. I just got to change a few settings, so I will post in the comments. But just keep an eye out on the Matte Paint channel